Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video we are going to discuss about lambda functions in Python. I hope you remember my previous videos wherein we have also seen the normal functions in Python which used to take some arguments and then perform some expressions and then return the final value after performing those expressions on the arguments. But in case of a lambda function, it is going to be a bit different, and we will see in this video how the lambda functions are different from the normal functions in Python. So in this video, we are also going to cover how to write a lambda function and syntax involved. We will also see when to use a lambda function versus the normal function, and we will also cover certain examples so that you can get a more in-depth grasp of how to write lambda functions in Python. And towards the end of this video, we will have two different homeworks for you. And the first homework will be write a lambda function that returns the square of a number. And the second homework will be lambda function that returns the product of two numbers passed into the lambda function as the argument. I'm really excited to start this video, so let's just get started and see how to write a lambda function in Python. So what exactly is a lambda function in Python? A lambda function is similar to the normal function except that it does not have a name. So when you write a lambda function, you do not define the name of the function. Rather, it just takes the arguments just like the normal function and it performs the expression on those arguments and then returns a value. So everything else is similar to the functions, that is the normal functions in Python, but the only difference is that the lambda function does not have the names unlike the other normal functions that we write in Python. And there is one more difference, that in our normal functions we can perform a lot of expressions and conditions within the function, but in case of the lambda functions you have the capability to write only one expression and perform or execute that expression and return a value. So lambda functions can be considered as a function that are disposable and you create them on the run, on the fly, to perform certain calculations and use the output of these functions and then just discard these functions. Okay, so these are like use and throw kind of functions that are available out of the box in Python. So next we will see how to write a simple lambda function, and we will also see the syntax for writing a lambda function in Python. So to write a lambda function and to save the returned value from the lambda, I will create a variable, say variable 1, and how to write the lambda function is by typing the keyword lambda followed by the arguments that we want to pass into this function, followed by the colon and the expression. So for example, if I want to multiply the argument 2, the argument a with 2, and this is the value that I want to return as part of this lambda function, then I can write it like this. So what exactly happens is, when I call this particular function, which is the lambda function, I have to pass argument a, which can be any number, and when I pass this argument and call this lambda function, it will multiply that value with 2 and return me the value. So let's see how we can execute this particular program and make use of this lambda function. So what I can do is variable 1, I have to pass something, say 10, and I can print the output by putting it inside the print statement. So if I do something like this, and if I execute this program, then everything should work fine and we should see an output of 10 multiplied by 2, which is 20. So let's see what happens. So you can see on my console that it prints 20, which is as expected. And let me explain this whole program once again to you so that you understand the lambda function in a much better way. So what I have done is I have created a variable called var1, and this is getting the return value from this lambda function saved into it. Okay, so this is really simple. So now comes the more complex part, which is the lambda function. So to write a lambda function, I have to start with the lambda keyword and followed by the arguments which I want to pass to this function, followed by the colon and followed by the actual expression that we want to perform on this function. Okay, so the expression that I'm trying to perform here is to multiply the number passed into this lambda function by 2, and then it returns the value back to this variable 1. And now if I try to print this variable, I also need to provide some value, which is basically the a variable, right? So if I pass 10 here, it means I'm passing 10 to this a variable, which gets multiplied by 2, and the value 20 gets returned back to the variable 1. So hence if I do a print statement here, it prints 10 multiplied by 2, which is 20, and that's what we see in our console output. If you understood this program so far, then click the like button. If you did not understood, then write down your comment below and I will try to explain it to you in a much simple and easier way as a reply to your comment. So let's continue with this program or the video. And the next item in our video is when to use a lambda function versus the normal function. So in our previous video, we saw that we use the functions when we have to separate our logic and perform the same repetitive task again and again. Then we create a function and put all our logic inside that function so that we can call that function from different parts of our program. In case of lambda, it can be similar, but lambda functions are basically used as a disposable function which you can write anywhere in your program and perform a particular set of expressions, return the value, catch those values and use it inside your program. Okay, so unlike normal functions, you do not write a long block of code with a lot of expressions that perform complex arithmetic or logical calculation on various parameters, but using lambda functions you perform usually simple calculations which is used inside your program later on. Now let's jump on to the next part of our video, which is some examples of the lambda functions. So as you have already seen, I showed you one example of the lambda function, but maybe I can show you a couple of more examples so that you understand the concept of lambda functions in a much better way. So let's write another function which performs maybe the addition of two numbers and return us the value, which is the sum of those two numbers passed as the arguments. So it can be something like lambda followed by the two variables which are like var1 comma var2 and followed by the colon. So if you look at the syntax, it is going to be exactly the same as we wrote in our first program. So here comes my expression, which is variable 1 plus variable 2. Okay, so what happens here is I can provide two variables, which is my first item and the second item, and what happens to these variables is it takes these two variables and sum them up together and returns the value. So I should use a variable here, say for example sum, to store the output of the sum of these two variables, and then I can use the print function to actually execute this program. And I also need to provide two values, which is 10 and say 20. So what will happen here? I will call the variable sum with these two arguments 10 and 20. 10 corresponds to variable 1 and 20 corresponds to variable 2, and this lambda function will add them up together and return the added value back to the sum variable, which is getting printed in our 8th row here. And if I save this program and execute this, you will see an error which is basically saying that missing one argument, which is variable 2. So the problem is we have done a plus here, which we should not be doing because the plus is being done by our lambda function, right? So we just need to provide the two variables that we want to provide as an argument to our lambda function, and our lambda function will perform the addition of these two numbers. So let's save this and execute this program again, and you can see that the output here is 30, which is 10 plus 20, and 30 is the output, and the first item, which is 20 here, is basically the output from our first program. So let's see one more example to make things much more clearer and much more easier for you. So maybe write a program to find the square of a number using the lambda functions. So I will create a variable, say sqr. It will hold the square value of the variable that we pass in as an argument to the lambda function and save it to the variable named sqr. And let's define the lambda function using the lambda keyword. So lambda followed by, say, my number is as num, and what happens to this number? Now we have to write the expression. So it will be num multiplied by num. So how you find a square? You multiply the same number again. That means the number is multiplied by itself and it provides you the square of the number, and this value gets saved to our variable named as sqr. And if I try to print this using the print statement and sqr, then I also need to provide a value. So if I want to find the square of say 10, I can pass 10 as the value or the argument to my variable sqr, and sqr is basically the lambda function. So if I pass 10 here, it goes as a num argument and it gets multiplied by itself. So 10 multiplied by 10, and the value, which is 100, should come back to the sqr variable and should get printed here on line number 11. So if I can execute this program, you can see that the output shows 100, which is as expected. So now is the homework time. So let's jump straight into our homework. So your homework is to write a lambda function that returns the square of a number. Oh, we have already covered this, right? So let's do something else. So you have to write a lambda function that returns the division of two numbers. So you have value 1 and value 2, and you have to return the value 1 divided by value 2. That means when you divide value 1 by value 2 using the lambda function, you have to provide the result back to a variable and print it on your console. And the second homework is to write a lambda function that returns the product of two numbers. Okay, so just like division, you have to do the multiplication this time and return the value or the product of these two numbers into a variable and print the output into your console. So I think this is one of the easiest homeworks that you have ever got so far, and if you are able to write the homework easily and properly, then please write it as a comment to this video so that I can review your homework and also provide you a thumbs up. And if you liked this video so far, you can also click the like button and share it with your friends. And if you are new to my channel, please click the subscribe button so that you get notified once I upload my next video on Python tutorial for beginners. Thanks for watching this video. Thanks for your time. Take care and bye.